Hello, everyone, and welcome back to PODCAD. As you can see, we're all joined here on this lovely April shower with none other than Gabriel George, a sculpting and installation student of OCAD University. Thank you for joining us today. We've got a special episode prepared, I think so. It's going to be good conversation about perhaps the future and
the past
and where it might take us. So yes, please welcome Gabriel George.
Thank you all. Thank you for having me here.
How are you doing?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting ready for the next semester.
Yeah. Gabriel, so how did you sort of end up here at OCAD with all the happy folks around us?
Yeah, so in 2015, when I moved to Canada from south part of India, it's a small state called Kerala. So when I moved here, I was looking for what I can. I was working back there in films, so initially I thought to join in film industry here, but when I moved here, it is completely new for me, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know any contacts, or I don't know any other people around in the industry. So, as my background, I have a little knowledge about this art and stuff. My father was also an artist. So, at that time, as a beginner in Canada, I started doing gig works like ride sharings and all these things. At that time, I used to drop many students and faculties at OCAD. So I used to talk with them, interact with them. So then I realized, okay, these kind of programs are running here in this college. So that was my initial interest for joining OCAD. So then I go and research more about OCAD. Then I find like sculpture and installation program is there. So I already did one installation art back in India in 2015 as well, just moving before to Canada. So yeah, that was the start.
And you also studied in India. You did a degree as well. Yes?
Yeah, I did a graduation. I just completed the graduation in biomedical engineering. But after completing the course, I was completely not interested to work in the field.
The industry?
Yeah, so my complete interest was in art and design, all that area. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say your time studying in biomechanical engineering sort of informed your art practice in any ways?
Totally, yeah. Biomedical engineering is all about these MRI, CT machines and their mechanism, the process or the service, all that areas, right? So yeah, it's all about max for sure. So yeah, I got some kind of some interest was there for me in electronics. Maybe that makes me shift to the technology in my later on studies, right? So yeah, that helps me a little bit there.
For sure. And have you, like, with any of your projects sort of explored sort of your previous studies in any way? Or are you kind of like on a new trajectory now that you're studying in sculpture and installation?
So when I joined the sculpture course, I was trying to explore what all materials I can use for creating something. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to explore more materials. So with help of this biomedical, one of my artwork I did on top of circuit boards. So I painted the first humanoid robot called Sophia on top of the circuit boards, right? So initially, the inside and outside, it's like so the inside version of Sophia is completely circuits and these wires and everything, right? But from outside, it looked like a human kind of a way. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that works helps me in terms of this my degree from back home.
Yeah, for sure.
And we actually had a sculpting class together at one point. And
Was he good?
no. Well, that's the thing I was going to bring up, because like I had a hard time in that class because it was my first time
But
sculpting.
you're doing really good. I remember your time
But you know, I'd look across the room and I was like, damn, like you really know how to sculpt, and you brought all your. You brought some tools, and you had told me that, you know, like you don't really need too many fancy tools. Like you had a fork at one point and like a butter knife, and like you can really make do with sort of less tools. And but I thought, you know, you joined the class the same day and like you had no sculpting background, so I'm like, I'm getting like wiped from the floor here, like I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, you do have a long artistic background, and you told me that you used to do set designs as well in India,
Right.
and some production work. And why don't you tell me a little more about that, what you enjoyed about doing that?
Oh yeah, totally. So after my engineering degree, I started my career as a graphic designer. So I used to do post designing and all these things. At that time, I joined with a film publicity designer called Collins Leofield. So he was one of the leading designers in film towards south part of India. So I joined with him. I assist him for almost 3-4 months. But by that time, I got a independent project to do as a film publicity designer. So from there on, another 3 years going as a designer. I did almost 12 movies, luckily.
Wow.
So by that point, my interest was slightly changing. You know, I was sitting in a room or designing all these things for hours, like morning till evening. So I'm getting a little bored being in a space. So I want to break that. So one of my friend from film, he was a production designer. So I asked him, can I assist you in the films? So he said, oh yeah, why not? Yeah, come on. So then I started as an art assistant in the sets. So that gave me a different dimension to be in the sets, very active, interacting with people, learning about the process, all these things. So that really helps me to understand all these, creating the sets, set design, materials, all that things. So like that, I work almost another 2-3 years. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Is like set design and sort of the film industry something you'd be interested in exploring again after graduating? Or are you kind of like, nah, that's a chapter in my life that's done?
Oh, no, totally. Yeah. Even this year, last year, I took a year break from studies because there was one project from South India, one film project, which is filmed in UK and US. So the production designer, which I worked before with him, so he called me to assist in that project. So it was like
Cool.
a good one. So I take a year break and joined that one and finish that one. So yeah, I always into films.
Yeah.
Is there any South Indian films we should keep our eye out for? Or?
Yeah, totally. Now it's not like now it's getting global.
Yeah.
And it's now it's known like an Indian film. Far before it was like each states having their own culture and they are producing the films, right? So now it's become, the industry is getting bigger and they are making like an Indian film. They are like to project it like that way.
So it's like more homogenous.
Yeah. It's dubbing in multiple languages.
Okay.
So yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, they say Toronto's going to become a Hollywood North. Is that something you're looking forward to?
Oh yeah, totally. Let's see. Yeah.
Yeah. You and my sister as well. She's gonna become big director.
Director?
Oh.
Big director. Yes.
That's cool.
What are some sort of like things that inspire you when you're creating work? Now, obviously, because you're creating like sculptural work that doesn't have to be for an intended purpose of being part of a set for a movie or something. Like, what are some of the sort of things that make you like want to create outside of having to do it for a job?
You're talking about the set or my individual sculpture
Sort of
project?
more your sculptural practice versus your set design.
So the choice of materials really helps me. The film is about making things, unreal things, looks real, right? So that kind of shift is happening there. It's kind of magic happening behind the camera all the time, right? So visually pleasing. So I'm trying to make my works more connecting with people. There is no much area to think for the people. Like in a straight, it's talking directly to the audience. I'm trying to make it more pleasing way. Like maybe the element of happiness or joy will be there in some of my works. You can see. So yeah.
Cool.
You're also a painter. You're a very
Yes.
good painter. I remember seeing one of your works at a Asian Artist Collective show, like in the Great Hall. Do you find you're doing a lot more painting or a lot more sculpting?
I
these
always try to incorporate painting into my sculpting process as well. Maybe it's come from my father. My childhood days, I used to see my father doing all these oil paintings at home. So maybe all these colors influence me. Maybe my culture also influenced me because India, as you know, it's a very colorful place, right? We use a lot of bright colors. So all these elements influencing in my works as well. So I started my first year in OCAD as a painter, like in a
DRPT,
drawing and painting program. And eventually, I shifted to sculpture and installation program from second year.
You're like the fourth sculptor that I've heard say that, where they're
Just
like, yeah, I
shifted?
started in DRPT, now I'm in SCIN.
So what was the problem?
Oh, there's no problem at all,
Yeah.
but it's all about exploring a different
course,
way,
yeah.
right? The studio, and we have all facilities providing by the university, right? So I think the technicality, like the painting, I was doing it for quite a period, and I know a little bit, but I want to learn more about sculpting. You know, I want to focus more on that area. So, but as you said, most of my works I am using painting technique with the sculpting as well.
Yeah.
I know from some of the work I've seen, I saw one of your sculptures at Beaver Hall last year, and it
Yeah.
was like papier mache with like a really beautiful like texture and like painted patina on it. Can you sort of talk about your process for how you achieve these really like lifelike textures from just paint?
The piece you're talking about, it's all about the to control the artificial intelligence, the AI. We're talking about that chain. piece, right?
With the tongue.
Yeah, with the tongue and the
Yeah,
chain.
yeah.
So that piece is completely made out of cardboard and paper, but it looked like it's metal. So it's all about the process of painting, as I mentioned before.
Yeah.
Using the textures with these wall putties. So it's like a mimicking, changing one material to another. Like it's like a film process, right? Like a set making or something like that. We are creating something and making it to look like something else. So
The art of illusion.
yeah, illusion effect is happening there. So yeah, so it feels so heavy in a way, but actually it's very light, maybe 2-3 kilos. The whole thing weights. So yeah.
What's the story behind that piece?
So that was actually nowadays the artists, some of the artists or the whole art world is having a challenging with the AI, right? The new technology. So I was thinking about how we can able to control the AI technology in a certain way, there's some kind of restrictions need to be there for this because it's so powerful, right? It
Yeah.
can we have no idea what it can do on the next level. So now it's in a basic beginning stage. So I was thinking to have a control, need to have a proper control
Yeah.
in a good way to create something good with the AI. So in Bible it says like we need to, the tongue is the powerful weapon of the whole body. It can make war, right? So so there's a so I thought to control the small part like a tongue kind of a structure with a huge chain that gives the power. It shows like this small element is very powerful. If it breaks, it can be like a beast, you know. So you need to control the whole thing. So that
Yeah.
was the idea behind that piece, to control this tongue with a big chain.
That was a good choice to the scale of the artwork too,
Right.
to like kind of blow up the size of that small element.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I remember being in class once and here we were talking about AI, and someone had brought up a point where it was like, oh, if it gets out of control, we can just unplug it until AI learns how to plug itself back in, which is hopefully it doesn't get to that point where it seems uncontrollable. You know, that's the measure we're trying to prevent. And where do you maybe think, you know, who should be able to tell when is enough? Like, should it be the government? Should it be in the control of the companies, or should we say, you know, let them run free?
We can, as an artist, in my perspective, we can use all these as a tool, you know. Even before Photoshop, for example, there was artists who were writing fonts or the letters with hands, right? Yeah. Then the Photoshop comes in. Even it helps to develop artists in a different way. So it's, for me, the AI is just a tool we can, but we are not supposed to depend on it. So there should be a control on these things. Like I think, as an artistic perspective, we can just use it as a tool, like to develop, to for sketching or some for getting some ideas or something like. But it's not a
Do you think AI taking the form of robots, like ChatGPT or OpenAI, they developed a robot that can like pick up an apple and like tell you what's on the table, and which was a video I saw. But do you think that's going a little too far? Because from there it's a tool, yes, that maybe does your dishes, but you know, when does it stop?
The technology is moving so fast, you know. Now the robots will be there joining with us maybe in another 5-6 years. It's already there,
have
right?
A robot cameraman. So, Elmer, count your days.
So things are happening. We can program all these things in our own ways, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward for everything to happen in a good way.
Yeah. There's, sorry.
You can go first.
I was gonna say, like, there's that new Sora AI that can create videos that look almost cinematic,
right?
And you know, you mentioned like the beauty of like crafting set design like by hand and kind of tricking the eye. Do you think like some of that's going to be erased in the future because like we have access to this technology? Or is there going to be like a pendulum swing back where artists are going to resist and
it won't erase anything. I don't think so, because what AI is, as far I know, it's collecting all the data which is available already there, and it's giving something different to us in a different variations of it. But for the AI, it needs a data, right?
Yes.
So that data is creating by the artist or like the creators who are creating the works. So that original stuff, I don't think the AI can produce it.
Yeah.
That the original works will be always from humans, something new, innovative. Or AI can only manipulate
Like source
these,
material.
source
It
and
still
make it.
needs something.
Yeah,
right?
some variations it can give us.
I'm interested too because you have a background in biomechanical engineering and stuff, and this sort of like cross lateral of like AI and stuff with like, technologies like Neuralink and stuff sort of becoming like, I mean, they just sort of finished the first official test on humans and it was successful as far as they know. What is your sort of like?
Bro seems happy on stage.
What is your like opinion on that, or like your sort of thought with that, and like how technology like that, like more like body enhancement and body modification, is gonna change, not only the world as a whole, but also like art.
Yeah, totally. So even olden days before photography, the portraits were a big thing, right? So once the photography comes in place, then it's changes to something else. So the new era of paintings, the new styles involved, right? So the paintings, artists, and all these artworks are there from the beginning till now. It's keep on going. So when the AI comes in, maybe the style of artwork may change. Maybe we'll be doing different types of work in coming future. So it will exist. All these things will exist, and the artist will be keep on creating new contents, new styles, new materials. Maybe the art styles will be changing, right? So it all helps in a way for the artist as well. So I don't think there is a problem with this AI or the technology. It always helps the humans. Only thing we need to take the good part of it, right, to make it for the better living.
Which better living, the dude can finally use his phone and actually do stuff without, because he can't use his arms or legs. Just kind of insane. And if that's the sort of the goal, I think that's like a very great thing to do. But as we all know, greed might
Be very powerful.
That's another part of it, right?
if it works really good with someone who can't use their arms, with someone who can use their arms, I could be on my phone right now.
Well, if you get the Neuralink light, then you're just gonna get like ads in your head, and you're designing them.
What?
You're gonna be designing them.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's the future of advertising.
No.
So I did one of the work which I connected to your question before. So it was called the Future Passport. So before, it was really hard to create a face, and then we started to creating mask and faces which looks real in silicone and all these things, right? So before, it was like face recognition was one of the high technology thing.
Yeah.
And thumb impression was one time very high security thing for some period of time. Now all these things can be recreated, right, with the latest technology. So now it's changing to iris scan. So as of now, it says each iris is very unique. Each person's iris is very unique, and we can't able to recreate it. It's inside the eyes. Right? So even now, I think some of the countries start using iris scan for getting entry through the airports and all these things.
All the biometrics.
Yeah,
it's like
biometrics.
fingerprints linked to your iris.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
two-factor authentication.
Yeah, correct. So one work I did based on that one. So so we never know what's the future take us, but hopefully, let's see.
I guess like as much as there's this sort of impending pressure from like AI and new technology coming and stuff, it also opens the door for like the material and like, you know, logical responses of artists too. And I'm interested for you how you think these new technologies will impact your career as a sculptor.
Maybe I'll be using some new materials, right? There is always evolution of new materials using by the artist. I know a few artists which they are focusing into the materials which is using by NASA. So even in our sculpting studios, we use silicon, which is initially for the mold making, like bronze casting process. We are using a silicon, right? A slurry we use. So that is developed by NASA. So the, whatever high-end technology is creating, it's getting into the hands of artists as well, and artist is creating works with that type of materials. You know, so it's always fascinating to see new materials, new artworks, which is a different, maybe we can say modern, 21st century artwork maybe.
Right. And I think I remember the eye sculpture you made was made in the same process where used cardboard and body filler as well. And then in the center, there's a camera, which I thought was really cool to represent sort of the eye. And you also do projection mapping.
Yeah.
And how have you I guess translating projection mapping is, you'd have to have some digital background in working, and as you did making sort of posters, you found yourself turning it that way. I recently did projection mapping, and it's like, it's so hard to get right, to like fill the composition just right. And you don't really realize that, like, even if you're projecting black, light is still going through.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
It's about the measurements in projection mapping. The measurements are really play a big role. The size of the sculpture, the area of the projector, the angle of the projector, the length between the projector and the wall. Many things are there. So there is always a back and forth process for the projection. Before the final piece, there will be always trial and errors.
Right.
So the designing area really helps me with that project. And a little bit of editing too, like the video editing. So these two elements help me for that work, to do that projection mapping. Right. Actually,
I guess a good follow-up question to that would be like, how does your like background in graphic design and stuff inform or assist you in your more like artistic or sculptural practice now?
To create the sketches, to choose the color palettes, to make some miniature models with. So all these areas, I'm using these designing skills. So it really helps in a way to visualize what we are going to create. Before creating, we can have a visual image. Even in the sketching also, it works, right? But this is more easy way to see it in a realistic manner in computer, right? So, so there my designing skills a little bit help me.
I guess like another follow-up question to that too would be like, what do you consider yourself? Like, what title do you like? Do you like being called an artist, a designer? I mean, the list goes on,
Yeah, right. I'm being into few things. So I like to call myself, recognize as myself like a visual artist.
Visual artist.
Yeah, so where I can play with different mediums to create a work, right? So maybe I'll be using designing or I can sculpt, or I can do painting. So I'm not sticking to a particular thing as of now. In future, I'm not sure about it. But
Yeah, yeah.
as of now, I like to known as a visual artist.
Visual
Yeah,
artist.
have you ever sculpted anything with like organic material, like maybe
Not
algae,
yet. No.
something? No?
I wish to. Maybe I need to know more about these
Right.
living organisms. Right? So-
Yeah, yeah.
What is your like favorite medium to practice within right now? Like, what are you really like? Yes, this is like what I like doing.
I really love bronze as a material. It's precious. It's from the organic, like from the earth.
Yeah.
It's not organic, but
Are you pouring or like
the pouring
like-
technique. Yeah. It's take a huge process to reach there. It's like giving birth to a new baby, right? It's having a
Yeah.
feeling like that. We are carrying the piece for almost a long period of time, going through different process. So almost 16, 17 steps to reach, right? And finally, when we break that mold and
slip
see the
cast, yeah.
piece, and only at that point we know that, okay, this is going to be right or wrong. This is going to be a good cast or no, right? So the waiting to
Yeah.
see the piece, yeah.
I guess it's a very like high risk, high reward sort of process because it's so much material cost and
Correct.
so much like, chance. As much as you can control what's going to happen, there's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
many
yeah.
like little variables. And you don't, like you said, you don't know the result until
Yeah.
you open it and you go, oh, no, this didn't work.
Right. So
Have you ever had any sort of like, I want to say failures, but like, mishaps when working with bronze and stuff?
Oh yeah, totally. One of my piece, it's a camel and astronaut together. So in that piece, actually, I created two pieces. Both pieces having a problem. The air stuck inside the casting when we pour the metal. So there was a air stuck in between the piece, and the cast didn't come out really well. So it's all learning process, So we'll be more focusing on gating and all the process before doing a piece. So for me, it was always a learning process. Okay, no, this is a problem. Okay, so we need to figure out the problem and to correct it. So it always fun, yeah.
Cool. Have you ever worked with any other metals, like, for casting or, sculpting and stuff?
I make a small robot kind of a structure, sculpture piece with sheet metal. It's called Pepe. So that's for one of my projects. So that was really a fun work. So in that, I love the process of welding the metal together, so cutting, welding, and all this process. So Pepe, yeah. So I had fun with the sheet metal as well. Yeah.
That's cool.
You describe yourself as a visual artist.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of gallery shows and like pieces like fine art?
I did couple of shows.
Yeah.
Last year, 2 years back, one of my pieces was selected for selected in a visual art gallery of Mississauga,
That's cool.
and a couple of other shows. Last year, I participated in Toronto Outdoor Art Fair, and yeah.
How do you enjoy galleries?
In the opening nights, there's a chance to interact with a lot of other artists, to see other artists' works, to interact with the people, what they want to tell about our piece, and the interactions happening in all these exhibitions, right?
Yeah.
So as an artist, it really helps me to get all these feedbacks, the viewers aspects. So it really helps me to think about my work, to create it much better. Yeah.
And you also have some shows coming up as well, right?
Yeah, one show coming up in Visual Arts Center in Mississauga. So the title of the show is Letter to the Future. So I'm exhibiting one of my sculpture piece there.
And what day would you capture?
It's coming in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, 2 weeks from now.
Yeah,
And
in
I
April.
guess you guys can hear about it on his Instagram.
Yeah,
which
for
I'll
sure.
say now is Gabriel for Art. And why don't we look at some of your art, since you're all for art?
Sure.
And we'll pull it up right here. So, we'll take a look at this one right here.
This is a poetry installation piece which I did in 2015. So it was a we received Limca Book of Awards for this work because it's the first of a kind in India, like the poetry art installation. This is the first poetry art installation in India. So from the sculpture, there is some hidden speakers inside the piece, and also in the room, surrounded in the room. So the poem will be playing in the room. So the content of the poem I created as a sculpture piece. So there is a poet involved in this work. There is a sound engineer involved in this work. And myself as a sculpture artist.
Is this like one of the bigger pieces you make? Because I could see it. It says it's
Yes,
15
it's almost
feet.
15, yeah,
Wow.
16 feet long.
Where does the artwork live right now?
It's in India.
Oh, nice. You didn't bring it over?
No way to bring it
I don't
here.
know how to bring that
I
here.
really wish to bring it here, but
It's huge.
Yeah, cool. And then, wow.
this is the same work in this same series. So actually this is made out of, the rubber type material which we use inside the shoes, the
Oh,
sole.
okay, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like a very soft material. Actually, it's made with that, but it's look like metal.
Yes,
Mhm.
looks like
Actually,
all
it's very
welded
lightweight.
together. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was gonna mention the first one looks like a really robust. Like it looks heavy.
The first one is metal. The other
the
piece, the
first one
mic,
is metal.
that is metal, but the body is foam. Actually,
And
that the body part is of
so
foam.
did you do
Styrofoam.
welding for this one here?
Sorry,
Did
what was
you weld this?
Yeah, it's all well together. Yeah, and the other piece is completely soft foam. No, this one. Yeah.
Yes.
So is that then painted? Like, have you done like a sort of like wash on it and stuff to give it that?
Yeah,
like-
metallic paint. Yeah, just a
and I guess that comes
base
from
wash.
your experience using like in set design and stuff. It definitely translates over very well into like a sculptural practice.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it helps me in a different way.
Did you have like a reference when you were sculpting this, or was this sort of more like just idea from the head and then forming it?
It was a combine. Maybe we were like 3-4 people sitting together, like, with the director of the show and also with the poet, and so it was like a discussion how we need to have the piece. So I gave some sketches. So initially my idea is to keep it 2 separate pieces.
Okay.
So one piece can be hang in the air, right? So it can be sustained in the air. So that was one of my thought process for this one.
When you told the curator, did he look at you crazy, like hanging in the air?
Yeah, the people were look. Oh.
Yeah,
When
'cause
they
it
get
looks
into
like
the hall,
A really hard setup, to
it's
to get
almost
it all together.
almost 13, 14, 15, 13 feet height.
Wow.
The first
Oh, wow.
top piece.
And do you remember sort of how the idea sort of came to your head when you created this sculpture?
It's the content of the poem is the key element of the sculpture. So it's all about poem called National Animal. So the content is all about the horse saying, I can be the national animal. So each country having different animals as a national animal, right? But as far I know, there is no country having horse as their national animal. But actually, horse were used in all the freedom fights and all these wars, right, by humans. But none of the countries having horse as a national animal. So the content of the poem, it's about that. So yeah.
Cool.
And I really love the painting on this one. What kind of sort of paints are you using for the almost stained glass look?
So this piece is called The Precious Past. So the idea behind the piece is about the evolution of humans. As we know, the science says we all evolved from the apes, right? So I was thinking about where we start and where we reach now. So the evolution, it begins from the ape, right? So before, humans were depending on the cave, like in nature for all their things. Like, so the nature plays a big role, right? So from the cave painting, as you can see, some textures on top, like a texture inside the caves. So then it shifted to the technology. So
like the
now
keyboard
we
of
are
the mice.
depending on technology for everything. So it's a shift between nature and the technology. The painting. So I make the piece first in geometrics as a material, and then I painted it with acrylic colors actually.
So is it like a firm material or is it a softer material?
It's very solid but very lightweight.
Okay.
That's good about this material. So initially I need to make the whole thing in clay, and I also use found object for making the mold. So I use the keyboards and the mouse and all these things put together and create a silicone
Like a
mold.
cast,
Yeah,
okay.
cast from there, and then I cast it with geometrics.
Right.
So it's like a back and forth
It's like
process
an in-out
happening.
process. Damn.
You did a really good job disguising sort of the technology. It's all like it very much fits all into one
Oh yeah.
space. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
like the mice almost look like beetles.
Oh,
or
yeah.
like
And,
the
or
wings of a
fruit,
bug.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Egyptian culture plays a big role in our art movements, right? So, in between that structure I given, that's adapted from the Egyptian culture. So that's where I color the mouse as the colors of the beetles.
And then I guess for the ape's face, that was like originally sculpted in clay and then cast too, or was it the detail and stuff added, like all the texture and lines after?
It was the detail I added on top of the plaster of Paris cast.
Okay.
So I was carving this plaster of Paris face and adding all that details, and that added to the mold making process with the silicone. So it's a single cast in silicone.
You didn't cast a live ape?
Oh, I wish, but no way.
Wow.
Is it part of the same series?
This is a part of the same series. Yeah, was the first piece I created in this series. So this piece is called Hello. So it's says about the importance of personal communication in between the person humans. Before we used these telephones just to talk, right? Now we have too much technology incorporated to our simple smartphones.
Yeah.
But so we had a big shift there, right, in terms of communication. Olden times we used these copper wires for communication. So the color, I choose it from the patina of this copper.
It almost looks like on the sides too. There's like circuitry or like circuit boards.
Yeah,
Like you've
yeah.
got like like the little screws, which are kind of like idiosyncratic to like the circuit panels and like.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And same with like the that like sort of washed out green color. It's like as much as it like is like a copper patina, it also
Yeah.
is like very very like similar to like a circuit board's colors, especially like an aged circuit board.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that was the idea. And the middle piece, it's more like a robotic phase. Nowadays, when we call to the customer care, we are talking maybe to the AI robots, right?
Yeah.
There is no more real human sitting on the other side of the phone. So that's the now where we are, right? So it's having a connection with the past technology where we used long time back, and now we are in a point where we are talking to these humanoid robots.
Well, thinking it's still a human. It's
Yeah.
like very, very deceiving.
Right. So it's like a hazard sign. That's why I put a hazard sign on the forehead. It's like a warning sign where we are heading to. So we need to have some kind of control, as I mentioned before.
It's interesting too, though, because you say it's like a humanoid, like robotic form, but it's almost very like reminiscent of like a deity or like a god too. You know, with the sort of like
the power
and the angular
yeah.
face and everything, with like the stuff shooting out from the head, like
Yeah.
the solar crown. It's like it has like a corona around it. It's very fascinating because it kind of reads as like either, right? It could be like ancient like deity worship, or it could be this sort of like humanoid AI.
It's somewhere in between, right?
Yeah.
We can't say predict like it's from the past or it's from the future. Yeah, it's somewhere in between.
Nice. Ah, yes. The tongue.
That's the
The
tongue, yeah.
The tongue.
And okay, so is there anything more you wanted to add about your tongue sculpture?
So it feel like it can be, it will be, it's going to move in a certain way, because there are, I try to add some a gear system on the side, but it's not shown in this picture. Maybe some other angle you can see it. So it's look like it's going to move in any minute, or it's going to break the chain. That kind of powerful feeling was there for that tongue, the piece, because it's connected to a big, huge chain on the other end, right? So
I feel like that could feel like chaotic in a gallery.
yeah,
Like if it could really move and just like break the chain,
It's
that'd be really
interesting.
cool.
It's interesting too, because it's like you've given it like
Trying to escape.
the possibility, but not the actual ability. Like it still
Correct,
is
yeah.
like no power or anything, so it almost
No.
is like it's been deactivated.
Yeah.
In a sense.
it gives a feeling like it's going to talk, because I connected some speakers, some circuit boards. It can make some noise. So it's always like it's showing a feeling. It's not real. You know? We feel, the audience may feel like, okay, it's going to talk to us, or it may move, or that it can, or will it be, or is that kind of.
Following up on the not real, how did you get the sort of like taste bud sort of texture and stuff on the tongue surface?
It's all with this plaster of Paris.
Plaster of Paris,
Yeah,
okay.
so it's adding all the small details.
The eye. The AI.
The future passports.
AI.
That's the title of the work. Actually. So
Does it move? Like I remember
Yes,
seeing that there was like a part of it that like moved or something.
yeah, all these circuits actually. There's in the real video, it's actually moves the circuits. All these lines moves, and the
Projection
pupil
map.
of the eye, it's closed and open. It moves.
It's
actually,
projection mapping, correct?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
On the actual sculpture. So the sculpture is like a plaster of Paris, sort of
It's-
paper and cardboard.
Yeah, inside it's paper and cardboard, and covered a thin layer with plaster of Paris.
Does the camera on the inside still work? Like, can it still?
It's
take
not actually the camera. It's just a lens.
just the lens.
Yeah.
It's really trippy. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like scary sitting here looking at it, because it's like I'm getting like dead-eyed right now.
Yeah, it feel like, okay, I'm watching you, right?
Yeah.
I can see everything.
There's this sort of like uneasiness, like an uncertainty, you know.
Right. When we see all the cameras inside all these terminals watching us. Like we have like some kind of scary feel. Like okay, if somebody is watching us, all our movements, sitting somewhere else. So yeah.
And wow, so it's really three-dimensional in the way you made it. And did you choose to make it white, as in to sort of like blend into the wall or of the gallery?
It really helps for
Or
catching all the colors
the
from the
mapping.
projection. Like if
Yeah.
I painted it some other color,
Right.
then so I also like that simplicity of the color I used for the piece. Just two colors, right? Just the blue and the white. So
There's something interesting about it being only one eye too, because generally like eyes come in like pairs, so it being just one is like way more reminiscent of like observation, you know?
yeah.
It has this sort of like it's surveilling. It's not like, you know, it's like an eye up to a peephole or something.
Like always, the third eye is single piece, right? So
Yeah.
third eye. So that's a powerful eye, maybe. Like. That's a
The man
real
himself.
piece.
Yes.
There it is.
From the sculpture. Did you enjoy that gallery show? Did a lot of people?
Oh yeah,
come out to
totally.
see
Yeah,
it?
yeah. That was a different experience. Even for me, when I see the piece after installation and when it was having that energy, it's giving some kind of energy to me as well while standing near the piece and watching this big eye for like 2-3 minutes, looking at it, staring at him. Like, it's giving a kind of energy, right? So. Yeah.
It's a great photo because you can really see the scale. Like it is
Yeah.
like pretty big, and it has lovely texture on it too.
Oh, thank you. It's sitting in my living room now.
I was about to
Just
ask,
behind
yeah.
us.
Did it ever wake you up at night?
That's
I
awesome.
do
Actually,
not remember putting
it's
it
very lightweight, so I can just screw it to the wall.
Nice. So you got surveillance in your house.
Yeah, the whole house.
Being watched.
Yeah, see, like if someone broke in and they saw that, they'd be
Yeah,
like,
the big
"Nope,
Get out of the
way,
I'm
yeah.
gone. Nope, I'm good." Oh,
I believe you told me the story of this piece.
Yeah, this is like a 32 feet long art installation with a cotton yarn. So the name of the title of the work is "The Space in Between." In my childhood days, as I said, I'm from a small state in south part of India called Kerala. We have a lot of coconut trees there. So all the elements of the coconut trees we are using for different purposes. Maybe for cooking, we use the bark. For curries, we use coconut. And different ways for sheltering, we use the leaves. So all the materials from this tree we are using. So we used to make a lot of ropes with the
fiber.
the fiber from the shell, like from the coconut.
The actual nut.
So olden days there was no much missionaries, right? So the women were involved in this kind of labor, intense work for hours, from morning till maybe they work like 10 hours in a stretch. So what they do is they soak the whole fiber in water, they beat it and separate this fiber from it, and then they will hold a big bulk of fiber in on their hands and walk backwards, like weaving the fiber. So on the other end there will be a big wheel turning this fiber into ropes. So they will be walking backwards all these 8 hours long. So it's like a labor intense process, and the wages was very little at that time. So this strikes me. I used to see these things in my childhood days, all these women working really hard with the material. So I myself put my body into the work. So I was holding a big roll of yarn.
Mm.
So I was going back and forth inside this room, like 32 feet long room, almost 7-8 hours, connecting each line at a time. So that was
Right.
really so. And I was also trying to walk backwards with this big roll of yarn in my hand. So I was trying to feel, okay, how intense this process is, some kind of labor.
So it's almost like as much as it's a sculpture, it's also sort of like performative in a sense.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I
Putting
was
yourself
experiencing
in the shoes of.
Yeah.
how these women feel when they were in this world. But they are doing it for their living and their for life, and they are for doing it for years.
Right.
So when I experience it for 8 hours, I can feel that pain. Oh my God, this is not easy.
How is it installed in the gallery? Is it like wall to wall, or is
Yeah,
it?
it's stapled. Each line is stapled to the wall.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I see your shirt matches the artwork.
Yeah, the lines, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Wow.
there we
So
go.
the one side is almost like 10 inch, and the other side is almost like 5 feet
Okay.
wide.
Creates really cool shadows.
Yeah, I was going
too.
to say the same thing.
It's very fascinating.
Thank you.
It's almost like a like like in like movies and stuff when there's like hyper speed and stuff. The sort of like
Yeah, the
rays
light
exploding
rays or
from it and
something
Stuff.
like-
Yeah.
That's a
Wow.
whole piece. So
Wow.
yeah.
So you were there for 8 hours, and
Oh yeah.
so people could like come and go, sort of.
Yeah,
check it out?
the whole process I projected on that video. So the 8-hour
Oh.
video is there behind the piece. You can see it's also projected with the piece. So I filmed this 8 hours journey, like a
Process,
time
yeah.
lapse video, and I also projected that.
This one's also in your living room, right? Right across your
Yeah.
whole house.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
No, it's,
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
hard to keep the piece. Once
Yeah.
we take out the yarn, it will tangle
And it all
and it
comes
will, yeah.
apart.
What were some of the responses you got from sort of people coming to check out the work that you remember?
They were so surprised by the size of the
Mhm.
artwork. Like this is on the second floor in OCAD. I think 198, or it's on the second floor. It's actually a classroom. So I moved
everything.
all the tables and chairs from the
Yeah.
room and make it like a studio space.
Wow.
So the size is a big thing factor for this piece. Also, to experience the piece in real, that's a different. Once we see this in an image, and once we are in the space, that gives a different energy.
For sure. It's very fascinating because like it breaks the space into two parts.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's like impenetrable, but it is also, since there's like little spaces in between, it's like permeable enough that you can see
See-through, yeah,
right?
correct, right.
It's very interesting.
And it's having a very subtle color, like the white,
Mhm.
the purity of the color, the material.
And
Another,
the tongue.
The tongue, yes.
Look at the tongue. And this was
this is the spaceship and the camel.
Yes.
Not the
Astronaut.
spaceship, the astronaut. Holy moly. Sorry, I'm tired.
The Voyager of the future. So I was thinking about which animal we can take to space or to Mars while we are exploring in future, maybe, right? So we are looking for a second planet
Mhm.
for living, right? So
He has like a suit.
yeah, so why not? We can give a space suit to the camel. It having a history of long survival through
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
desert
yeah. That
for
sounds
days,
A lot
right?
better than the Cybertruck.
This Cybertruck in space.
It can go without water or food for 15, 20 days, I guess.
That would make like a really cool animation to
So
see.
it's maybe it's
Camel
from
and-
my crazy thought process.
It's
I
very
was
creative, yeah.
doing some sketching, and yeah,
It's like
it ended up like this.
It's like super dystopian though, you know, because it's like something that you don't like, you know, like obviously like the camel is super like tied to travel and you know exploration and stuff, but then like the proposition of it in space is just such this like it's such a like, you know, left field proposition, but it's also just very like, yeah, that makes sense, like, you know, for Mars, like it's a desert.
Well,
Very
it's
interesting.
sort of the same cross you're making with nature and science, or humans and science, or technology, sorry. And it just seems so weird to use it to your advantage.
In the movies, as you know, like olden days, we used to film like robots which interact with humans and all these things. In the like 30, 40 years back, we used to think about it, right?
Yeah.
And now it's really
It
happening.
was like the proposition.
The
yeah.
flying cars, it was a dream long time back, or it was like a fantasy thing. Now it's real. So what we were dreaming before or filming before, all that ideas is getting into reality in another after some years, right? So we never know whether the camel will travel to the space one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, shiny helmet.
It's a POV shot.
It's cool.
Oh wow, and it's made of bronze, right? Like a
Yeah,
bronze
the
cast.
whole bronze piece. It's really heavy actually. It's almost like 11 pounds.
Wow. And how big is it? Like,
It's almost like it's a 7-8 inch height.
that's cute. I love how on the masks too, it's like polished, so it's like
yeah.
that like glass sort of material.
Like more feel like a gold kind of.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that's all for the photos. And we're just about running out for time, but you know, we never leave our guests empty-handed.
Okay.
So you guys chat amongst yourselves while I come back.
And that texture on the chain is just lovely.
Oh,
It's
thank
like a really, you can really see that you have a background in sort of like, you know, making sets and stuff and bringing like the false into reality. It's really,
Yeah,
really
that
cool.
rustic type of.
Mhm.
Yeah, I always love the textures. Even in my painting, I try to add a lot of textures to the work. So different type of textures, I am into it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. So we know you like working with a lot of different materials. So I brought you one of the finest materials there are.
Oh, cool.
It's modeling clay by Crayola.
Oh, that is cool.
It's here you can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's not Play-Doh. It's modeling magic.
Awesome.
Model magic, and
Thank
it's
you, Alex,
very
for
high
the
quality.
gift.
It's a
It
little bit
always
of-
helps.
yeah.
It should be like a companion with me all the
Right.
time.
A little bit of projection mapping, and it'll come to life. You know.
Yeah, yeah,
Reuse
yeah.
or air dry. Look at that.
Oh, it's air dry clay. Oh,
See,
cool.
this is the new materials we were talking about,
Yes,
guys. This
the
didn't
technology
this didn't exist
is
5 years
advanced.
ago. This is like new.
Every day there is something new, things coming, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
And you're at the forefront of that. you
and
know.
I love to try explore
Yeah.
all these things, and I'm trying to add that things to my work as well.
Yeah.
Before we go though, is there anything that you'd like to plug? Any upcoming anything?
Yeah, so most of my works is uploaded in my Instagram. It's Gabriel for Art,
Right.
number 4. Yeah, so it's Gabriel for Art.
Alright.
So just say hello and
Oh,
yeah.
And we'll see you all in the future. You all take care. Thank you so much for joining us, Gabriel.
Thank
Yeah.
you, thank you,
And
thank you. Alex.
we'll see you all next time. So take it
Take care.
easy.
Bye.
Peace.
Good.